I want to ask you something. Have you ever noticed how strange this is? Like there are so many things in your life that you genuinely want. Not the things other people want for you, the things that you want for yourself, for your life. You want to feel healthier, you want to be more confident, you want to speak up more. You want to start that project, you want to make that career move, set that boundary, have that conversation that you've been avoiding, right? And you know that all this would improve your life, and yet you still don't do it. Now here's the part that fascinates me. If I asked you right now what the next step is, you will probably have an answer. Most people do. So the question isn't what should I do? The question is, why am I not doing what I already know? And most people immediately answer that I need to feel motivated, I need more motivation. But the longer I work with people, the less I believe that's true. Because I have met highly motivated people who still stayed stuck. And I've also met people who took massive action while still feeling scared, uncertain, and unmotivated. So maybe motivation isn't the thing that you're missing. Maybe you've been trying to solve the wrong problem, right? And a conversation I had recently made me realize that how common this really is. So stay with me till the end, because if you've ever felt frustrated with yourself for not taking actions in your life, what you're about to hear might completely change on how you see yourself. You see, a while ago, I was speaking to one of my clients. She was the kind of person who had achieved most things in her life that people would admire. But there was one area of her life where she felt completely stuck, right? And what made it so frustrating for her is that she knew exactly what she wanted. She had a plan, she knew the next step, yet month after month, nothing changed. And one day she came to me and said, Kelsang, I don't understand. I know exactly what I want. I want this. Why am I not able to do it? Why am I feeling stuck? And honestly, I think that's one of the most painful places to be, right? When you genuinely want something, you know it matters, you know it could improve your life, and yet your actions do not seem to match your intentions. And then after a while, during this process, you stop questioning the goal and then start questioning yourself, right? So maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've also looked at yourself and thought, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just do this thing? Why do I keep stopping myself? So I asked her a simple question. What do you think is stopping you? She was quiet for a few seconds, and then she said something that I will never forget. She said, maybe I am not that kind of a person, I feel. And when she said that, I stopped thinking about her goal for a moment, because I realized we were not talking about motivation anymore, right? We were talking about the way she saw herself. And that changed everything. Now, I want you to think about that sentence. Maybe I'm not that kind of a person. Now, how many versions of that sentence have you said to yourself internally? I'm not confident, I'm not disciplined, I'm not good people, I'm not consistent, I'm not leadership material, right? I'm not someone who follows through, right? Many times we say this. And here's what I've noticed. Most people think that they act according to what they want, but that's not always true. Very often people act according to who they believe they are. Now think about this for a moment. People don't act according to what they want. They act according to who they believe they are. And that's completely a different conversation to have altogether. Because if you believe you are someone who speaks up, you will eventually speak up even if you're nervous, right? If you believe that you're someone who takes care of your health, you will return to healthy habits even after one bad week. If you believe you're someone who follows through, you will keep going even when motivation disappears. So the behavior follows the identity, right? And if I were to ask you, have you ever noticed how some people volunteer in a room to speak up in a meeting without overthinking, without hesitation? And it's not that they never feel nervous, right? And it's not they always have the perfect answer. But somewhere along the way, they've accepted a simple belief. My voice matters. And because they believe that, they behave differently. Meanwhile, someone else equally intelligent sits quietly in the room. Not because they have nothing to contribute, but because somewhere inside they're carrying a different story, a different identity, a different belief about who they are. And that belief quietly shapes their actions every single day. Now, what's interesting is that most of these beliefs, they didn't start as facts, right? Nobody wakes up one day morning and then decide, you know what? I'm going to believe I'm not confident. No, it doesn't work that way, right? Usually something happens, criticism, an embarrassment, rejection, failure, comparison, or a moment. And without realizing it, we start collecting evidence. We replay the experience, we tell ourselves a story about it, and eventually the story becomes a label. The label becomes familiar, and because it's familiar, it starts feeling true, even when it isn't. Now, this is something that I wish more people understood. You see, motivation is a feeling, and feelings can change. Some mornings you wake up feeling really motivated, and some mornings you don't, and which is absolutely normal. Some days you feel like unstoppable, and some days you start questioning everything. And that's again normal and human, right? The problem is when we make motivation responsible for our progress, because motivation was never designed to carry that much of weight, right? The people who consistently move forward aren't necessarily the most motivated people in the room. Very often, they are simply operating from a different self-image. They see themselves differently, and because they see themselves differently, they behave differently, right? Now, which brings me to something that I wrote down a few years ago, and I've not forgotten, which I really wanted to share, that we often have to act differently before we start seeing ourselves differently. And that's where the real change begins. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I need more motivation, I want you to pause there and ask yourself a different question. Ask yourself, what would I do right now if I already believed I was capable? Not next year, not next month, right now. What would I do? Because the answer is usually obvious. Make that call, send an email, apply for the opportunity, start the project, have that conversation, take the first step. And when you hear that answer, you will realize something really powerful, right? That the problem was never that you didn't know what to do. The problem was that an old story has been deciding who gets to do it first. So before we finish, I want to leave you with one thought. There may be something in your life right now that you've been waiting to feel motivated enough to do, but maybe motivation isn't what's missing. Maybe what's missing is your willingness to question a story that you've been carrying for years. Because every time you say, I'm not that kind of a person, you close the door before you've even tried turning the handle. And maybe that's the real challenge, not becoming someone new, but questioning whether the version of yourself you've been carrying is actually true. Because the future version of you isn't built by waiting for motivation. It's built by taking actions that challenge old identities. One decision at a time, one conversation at a time, one courageous step at a time, right? So I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing that you've been wanting to do, but the story that you're telling yourself keeps holding you back? So write it in the comments below. I would genuinely love to read them. And if you're someone who knows that what they want, but keeps feeling stuck between knowing and doing, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icons for my future videos, because that's exactly what we will be exploring here, how to stop fighting with your mind and start working with it. Thank you so much for taking out time to watch this video, and I'll see you next week with another powerful insights.